Die Rise is one of my favorite zombies maps. I felt the need to preface this video with that, just so that, you know, there wasn't anybody caught off guard when this video wasn't entirely just me dunking on this map, and was actually me praising this map. And I really need to get a new chair. The arm is, like, busted on this thing, because I'm one of those gamers where I rely on my chair arms in order to kind of, like, rest my elbow on it as I play, because I literally have, like, a 19-inch desk, meaning that there isn't enough room for me to actually, like, properly rest my arms on the desk as I play, but now it's at a point of where, like, it's so broken. In fact, it's actually kind of irritating me to even use this right now. Like, I'm just trying to punch it into place. Anyway, all that being said, yeah, from the day that Die Rise released, I've genuinely always loved this map. I thought it was such a cool concept, you know, being in the skyscrapers, having to, like, jump across them, and this was one of the first times where I feel like zombies really tried to utilize mobility and traversal in a way outside of just, you know, the normal running around buying doors. I mean, sure, we had other maps in the past that's kind of, like, experimented with that, like, I think Moon, for example, obviously with the Zero-G, where you were kind of, like, floating all about the place, and you had other things like the zip line, for example. And when I say zip line, I am referring to the one from Shinonuma, just to emphasize, like, yes, they were experimenting with things even as far back as World at War. But I just feel like this map really took things to a whole other level when it came to not only emphasizing traversal and different ways of doing so, but also just doing it in a way to where it was actually vital to the map. Because while, yes, in previous maps, it was kind of like a cool feature here and there, like in Moon, like, yeah, sure, the Zero-G was a cool feature, but it wasn't necessarily, like, a main part of the map. Like, yes, it kind of was, but also, no, it really wasn't, because there was plenty of parts of the map where it just, you know, it wasn't even something that you really had to use, and for the most part, you could avoid it for most of the game, whereas in Die Rise, yeah, you have no way of avoiding it for most of the game. Like, if you want to get from one point to another, whether it be to buy a jug, or go back and buy a quick revive, or spin the box, like, yeah, you're gonna need to get your Nikes on, you're gonna need to start running and hopping. And I just love when zombies maps don't dilly-dally with an idea that they have, and they rather just go full in with it. Like, if you're gonna commit to something, go full in and commit with it. Like, for example, I think back to Origins, where you had the knights coming out every couple of rounds to steal back the generators after you capture them. And it's one of those things where, like, yeah, sure, some people don't like the knights in Origins, and they wish that those rounds weren't even in the map just because of how annoying that, admittedly, yes, they can be. But imagine just how pointless the generators would have felt if they would have kind of just went halfway with it, and you capture it once, and that's just kind of it. You capture the generators to get the power on, but nothing else really happens outside of that. Like, sure, it would be a cool feature, but at that point, it would kind of feel like a throwaway thing. Whereas now that the knights come in every couple of rounds to steal it back, it's like part of the main gameplay loop, and it's like a whole other feature, and it's like one of the first things that you think of, for better or worse, when you think of playing Origins, just because they took a seemingly small feature and made it a part of the main gameplay loop. And similar here in Die Rise, you know, they could have done something real small where it's like, oh, I don't know, maybe you could use the trample steam, since that is a buildable on the map, and you can optionally jump between some of the buildings, but instead they were like, no, you're gonna jump across the buildings, and that's just how it's gonna be. And I totally respect this map and the developers for that, for going all in with such a cool and unique idea. If, in your opinion, it didn't pan out, you know, that's cool, that's your opinion, you're entitled to that opinion, just as I am entitled to mine, as saying that I really feel like this map did what it wanted to do perfectly. Now, there is one slight, I don't want to say flaw with the map, but one annoyance I have with the map, and that is the fact that PhD isn't even on the map. Like, yes, it's there in the sense that it's an Easter egg that they decided to tease us with, but obviously you can't buy it and use it, which, yeah, that is pretty frustrating, because that feels like that would have been that perfect moment of genius where, say, they force you to go through the map normally, but then once you reach, like, the rooftop to the point of where it reconnects back to the spawn point of the map, or, like, quick revive and all that is, then say they'd have a PhD machine there. So then it's like, okay, now that you learn the map, now that you understand how the mechanics work on a fundamental level without, you know, having PhD as a crutch, now you're rewarded with PhD, and now you can traverse the map a bit more freely and without as much anxiety. I feel like that would have been literal, like, genius game design right there. So in that aspect, yeah, I don't know, that's just one of those moments where I do kind of have to scratch my brain and be like, all right, why didn't you guys do that? Because clearly it was at least in their thoughts, considering the fact that PhD is in the map, except it's only there as a troll. But regardless, that also does kind of, like, feed back into what I was saying before about just how much respect I have for this map for going all in with its idea of making the player parkour their way around the environment, jump between building to building. And there's also, like, another, I guess, like, survival or gameplay layer there where it's like, okay, you kind of have to balance your health, balance your resources, figure out where you are on the map, map your route, because there's multiple ways to jump between the buildings, to get between different buildings, whether that be taking the elevators, or maybe just straight up jumping between rooftop to rooftop. In some instances, you don't even have to do any of that, and you can just buy certain doors and kind of just run about the place. But again, it's completely up to you as to how you want to map out your route. Like, for example, I mean, you guys literally just saw it in this playthrough where, yeah, you can either go the one way with Quick Revive, and you can buy the M14 and proceed downwards to where the SVU and the PDW and all that are, and just keep going that way. Or you can go down the elevator and get the Sliquifier, which is one of the best wonder weapons of all time, pre-patch and even post-patch, I would say, you know, on round 1. That's one thing that I love about the Victus crew maps. Don't get me wrong, as much as I love Primus, like, you know, Origins, Rise, Drakk, all those maps, some of my favorites of, well, literally all time, as they should be for literally anybody else. I mean, okay, I don't want to say as they should be, because obviously, again, it's all up to, you know, your own personal opinion when you're playing these games, but I just feel like if you play Origins and Rise and Drakk and you don't enjoy them, I kind of have to wonder, like how that's even possible. It's like, yeah, if you don't enjoy those maps, I will always respect anyone and everyone's opinion for not, you know, if they don't enjoy something, but at the same time, it's like, man, those maps are really good. I really have to question that. But regardless, when you're playing maps like that, like, there's definitely a bit of a feeling of, okay, I know my route, I know how I'm gonna do this thing, and while there's not necessarily just one way to do everything in those types of maps, it's definitely a bit more of a narrow progression path compared to the Victus maps, for example, where I feel like there is a lot more freedom, because again, even on the Die Rise example that I just mentioned a few moments ago about how you can either go the one way and get the weapons there, or you could take the shaft down, build a wonder weapon, and go there, and there's, like, that goes beyond, like, something as simple as starting out the map, right? Between all the different buildables you have, between the fact that you literally have 2 different Easter eggs you can do in the map, whether you go with Richtofen's path or Maxis' path across Transit, Die Rise, and Barry, leading to the whole Super Easter egg thing. Right now, I'm just kind of waiting for the elevators to come back, because I'd like to take them and kind of, you know, keep working on our path so we can loop around and get the AN-94 to pack a punch that, but right now, I'm just waiting. Another thing I always loved in this map is how they took an enemy that we thought we knew, that's tried and true and all that, with the Nova Crawlers from Black Ops 1, and turn them into the Jumping Jacks here. I mean, obviously, they already did that in Black Ops 1 because we had the Nova Crawlers that teleported around on Moon, so, you know, they kind of already iterated on that idea in the past, but they just went even further with it before to where they were just straight up Jumping Jacks now, which I thought was a really cool thing because, you know, it would be kind of weird to have the Nova Crawlers on this map, just kind of having them gas up the place when we already have a rather gassy, slimy, liquidy wonder weapon here with the Sliquifier. Not to mention the fact that if you have, like, the Bowie knife or Galvan Knuckles, for example, I mean, you don't have to use those. You can just use your normal knife, but I probably would recommend using Galvan Knuckles. But anyway, if you use those, then obviously you can also get, like, a free perk from them if you punch all of them without missing a single shot. Because that's the thing some people don't know. You don't even have to knife them. As long as you are 100% accurate, which can obviously be a little hard to do because of how much they jump around, it still counts, and you'll still get not only the max ammo, but also the free perk from them. And that's another thing that I love about these Victus maps, especially something like Die Rise, where you have so many of these, not only like main Easter egg type things, but also just a bunch of smaller side Easter eggs. Am I saying that the, you know, the Primus maps didn't have that? No, of course not, because they had those in spades. I'm just saying that the way that Victus handled them always felt super unique, because some of the Easter eggs were tied to even smaller things that still impacted the gameplay in a pretty great way. Like, for example, the perma perks, where you had like perma jug, or the perma little like insta-kill thing, or perma PhD. And before anybody wants to come out here saying, oh, there's a bunch of objective flaws, but shut up. Literally just shut up. Okay, I'm so sick of people on the internet using the word objective as if their criticism is actually objective for any tangible reason, because here's the thing. Video games are an art form. There's no way around that. Video games are art. The things that make up video games are art, right? Music is art. Art, you know, as in like drawing and graphic design and stuff, that is art. Coding, I mean, to an extent, that is its own art form because it's sort of like a language, and, you know, learning languages and such is kind of considered to be an art form in itself as well. So there you go, another art form. And literally just all of these art forms create what video games are. And similar to any other art form, like say a painting or a movie or this, that, or the other, you cannot objectively point at something and say that it is bad, because the beauty in art is in the eye of the beholder, meaning that it is 110% subjective, and there is not a single piece of objective criticism that you can actually throw at a video game, with the exception, and I do mean the very slight exception, of something like, say, graphical hiccups or glitches or things that were simply not intended to be a feature in the game. Like if you say, okay, at launch there was some bad bugs with Cyberpunk 2077 where there was people T-posing on motorcycles, yes, you can point at that and say that is an objective flaw, because of course it is, because not even the developers or the artists themselves intended that to be there. That being said, when it comes to other gripes or criticisms or whatever hot takes that you have about things, none of those are actually objective, because again, it's completely subjective as to what the quality or what one thing is or isn't to the person that is playing and receiving the information, and therefore like reviewing it and giving their opinions on it. Because I feel like a lot of people online tend to forget that when you're giving your take on something, it is literally just your opinion. Nothing you say actually has any objective stance, unless again it is something like, say, graphical hiccups or other glitches that genuinely aren't intended to be there. Everything else is completely subjective. You can never truly point at something and say, oh, that is objectively flawed game design, or this is one thing or the other, because again, it is completely up to the person that is playing the game. Because for you, what you might point out is and be like, oh, you know what, that's completely flawed. Another person might point out and be like, dude, that is an absolute masterpiece. I love that. Now, I will admit, some of the things that I'm kind of ranting about right now are not necessarily just relegated to the zombies community. This is more or less just a thing with video game culture in general. Finally got the AN-94. Dude, this weapon is easily one of the best in zombies history. Like, screw the Origin Stab, screw the Horizon Drog bows, screw the pre-patch Liquefier. The AN-94, this is like the triple S tier echelon. You're not getting better than this. The Thunder Gun, the Wunderwaffe, none of those can touch this. The AN-94, that is peak weaponry. Look at this, stuck in a corner. Oh, it's no problem. You just gotta spray about a couple of times. Okay, you know what? Maybe I should have used the Liquefier in that situation. Okay, switch out to the Liquefier. We're alive. We're alive. Everything is fine. Just, oh, I didn't realize we're actually getting lone Liquefier shots. I was being really careless with this thing. I have a bad habit of sort of going on autopilot when I try to play and commentate at the same time. But anyways, all that being said, yeah, that's just my little rant and tangent for the day. Stop using the word objective as if it has literally any meaning or relevance or ground, because at the end of the day, it does not. Literally at all. Just because you say the word objective does not make it so. Just because you have a keyboard and can type on Twitter or in a YouTube comment section does not mean that your opinion matters any more than the other person that you're trying to debate something on. Because at the end of the day, I mean, dog, our time on this earth is finite, right? So why are you gonna waste your finite time debating and complaining about something you don't like when instead you could just go and gush and talk about things that you genuinely love? To a certain extent, I will always say that constructive criticism can be a positive thing, but when you're just relaying the same information that everybody else has been oh, look at that, we got Jug back for free. I was about to go and buy it, but never mind. But when it gets to the point of where you're just relaying the same information that everybody else has already heard a million times, especially when it's just negative for the sake of being negative, and when you're just saying the exact same things that everybody else on this echo chamber of the internet has already said a billion times, then like, dog, what's the point? Again, like, people spend so much time of their finite time on this earth being a negative and complaining about things for absolutely no reason, when usually they're just echoing the popular opinion and aren't even stating their own opinion and are just saying things because people on the internet told them that that's what they need to think or that's what they should think, so then they think it because they're just so hardwired and brainwashed from how the internet has trained their brain to be and how to consume media and entertainment and art in general. If I sound like a cynical, jaded old boomer, it's because I kind of am. So I stopped using, like, not because I stopped using social media years ago, if I'm gonna be honest. Like, I stopped really using it and scrolling it and stuff years ago, but recently I even stopped using YouTube. Like, sure, I'm still a daily YouTuber, so I'm on here posting every single day, of course, because that's just what I do. I love making videos, I love making content, I love connecting with my community, but outside of that, I even stopped watching YouTube. I'm just not online anymore. Like, sure, I'll always use the internet. Like, if I need to Google something like, dog, how long do I need to microwave this pack of ramen? And I'll always play online video games or, you know, just stuff like that. You know, like, I'll always be online to some extent. Not to mention, again, like, creating these videos. So I'll always be connected with the internet and, you know, people on the internet in some way. But, yeah, you know, I've just kind of stopped even watching YouTube and stuff like that. The platform that I literally create videos on. I'm just not online anymore. I just spend my time doing other things. And honestly, it has been such a freeing and eye-opening experience to just how stupid everybody is online, you know what I mean? Like, I know this video is more or less just, you know, it's titled as being about Die Rise, when in reality, for most of the time, I've been talking about things beyond Die Rise and just more about the internet and gaming industry in general. Not even necessarily the gaming industry, though, just more or less the online discourse that happens about the gaming industry more than actually like gaming itself. Yeah, it's been such an eye-opening and just freeing experience, just disconnecting from all the BS. Like, you have no idea how nice it is to be able to just have your own opinion and not have some no-life Twitter loser haggling you for it, typing paragraph after paragraph for it, or the literal embodiment of the South Park meme guy on Reddit typing back at you for having an opinion, or in the YouTube comment section somewhere. It's just... It's such a freeing experience, just being your own person and just enjoying art for what it is, rather than always trying to critique something or be negative about something. Just enjoying things for what they are, nothing less, nothing more, accepting them for what they are, rather than complaining and channeling a bunch of negative energy. Instead, just channeling all of that into talking about things that genuinely interest you or that you genuinely love. It's such a healthier experience and such a healthier way of consuming media and art in general. And before I start, you know, talking in circles, which I probably already have at this point, we'll just kind of bring this thing back around and tie it back into how this connects with Die Rise. And the more that time has gone on, the more and more I've seen people dub this as being the worst map of all time. It used to be Transit, and then it's kind of slowly shifted over to being Die Rise. And that's exactly my point with all of this, is where the internet is just such a huge echo chamber, to where the entire community of, you know, whatever you're looking at, whether that be movies or games or this, that, or the other, will go from saying, oh, this thing is the worst, but then one person will just be like, no, actually, I think this thing is the worst. And if the opinion catches on for some reason or another, then everybody will just echo that sentiment, whether they truly believe it or not. And even then, there's not usually enough ground stance or merit to their claims to even really make sense. And it's clear that they're just trying to get clicks or just trying to be negative for the sake of it, just because, again, humans are just really toxic nowadays with how the internet has evolved our brains and changed the way that we consume and think about literally everything. So, I don't know, it's weird. But anyways, yeah, I've been rambling for long enough. I won't keep you guys here any longer. What are your thoughts on everything that I talked about? Am I just a jaded, crazy boomer, or did you realize that maybe I'm actually onto something? But again, hey, you know, however you interpret this video, it doesn't matter, because that's completely up to you. You're entitled to your opinion of this video, because similar to video games, creating videos is an art form. So if you hate this video, that is completely okay, because you're entitled to that opinion. If you love this video, that is completely okay, because again, you're entitled to your own opinion. If you think I'm annoying and you never want to see my face again, that is completely okay too, because once again, you are entitled to your opinion. That is the wonderful thing about human beings. It is okay to like things or hate things that other people hate or love. If there's any message I could leave you guys with today, it's do not fall for the trappings of the internet echo chamber. Free your minds and just enjoy things. Stop being negative. Just have fun and live life, man. It's as simple as that. Furthermore, if you haven't played Die Rise in a while, but you just kind of hate it because that's what the internet has trained your brain to say, go, turn it on, grab this liquefier in round 1 and have fun. I promise you, you're gonna have an absolute blast. But anyway, as always, my shout out, thank you to all the Patrons and channel members, thank you to all the low ball tier, and shout out to the only big ball tier, my last committee, and many of these shout out on GC Run, and Vince on the GC. Thank you guys so much, guys, for Literal Legends. I love you. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day, stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.